welcome back to my channel, The Retro Farmhouse. Today I am doing a thrift flip of some items that I picked up from the thrift store, and I just knew I could recreate something different with these. So I hope this gives you a little bit of inspiration when you're out doing your thrifting, or also some of these items you can just pick up at a general craft store and redo them like I did. But again, a lot of my inspiration comes from either the farmhouse style, because I live on a farm here, and then also sometimes a little bit of boho farmhouse too. So I will link everything that I used in the description box below. And without further ado, let's get into doing today's project. For my first project, I picked up this little cutting board from the thrift store, and it had this cute little Pillsbury Doughboy painted on it. But I wanted to remove all this, and I knew it was solid wood when I picked it up, so I figured maybe I'd try to refinish it. So I'm taking my citrus strip here. I'll put that link below where I get that. And this is kind of a non-toxic stripper. If you saw my previous video of me doing the table, I like to use this a lot just to help kind of strip the paint off. And I left it for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and I used my scraper, and this got most of the paint off. But I also ended up using my little mouse sander and got a lot more of it off as far as with smoothing it down with a medium grit and then the fine grit. And then here you can see I'm just taking some coffee grounds that I had in just some hot water, and this is going to apply a natural stain. I know you've probably seen some fellow YouTubers use this. I know White Cottage Company did something like this, and it really does work great. There were a few spots where it was hard to get some of the blue off, but I wasn't really too concerned about that. It just gives it some more aged type look. And next I'm just digging into this jar. I keep a bunch of broken jewelry that I have, and I'm just trying to take off this little leather piece. I figured I'd put that at the top as a little hanger, and it definitely add a little bit of character to it. And really, if you want to, you can seal this with like butcher block oil if you want to use this, but I'm just using it for a decoration piece. Next, I also got this large pink tin at the thrift store, and I knew I wanted to make this out of a planter, but I wanted it to be galvanized. So if you've seen any of my earlier videos, I like to do a galvanized paint look. So some of the paints that I do use are just the Apple Barrel brands from Walmart. And these are pretty cheap. You can usually get these for about 50 cents. So a lot of times I'll start out with the color pewter gray, and then I'll just add the dark granite, a little bit of black, and some timeless gray on top of that. And I just kind of apply this with a makeup sponge, just blending it. I do not let this dry in between because you want this to be able to kind of blend with the paints. Here you see me just kind of dabbing this on. I ended up putting this on the whole part of the outside and then halfway down the inside because I knew I was going to stick a plant in this, and I just lined it with some plastic, so I didn't really need to go all the way down through. And last, just to seal it, I added some Mod Podge sealer spray, and that just helps to kind of keep it from scraping off. For my last project, I picked up some of these old embroidery hoops from the thrift store. They were in a huge pack with a bunch of embroidery materials for, I think I got it for like $1.50 for everything. So it was a really huge steal. But because I only had one size for these rings, I wanted to kind of make this out of a plant holder. So what I'm doing here is I'm just creating a smaller circle for my pot to sit down in. And really, you can just measure the diameter of it and just kind of do it this way. Or if you have something that is round enough, you can just trace that as well. So I've made an outside circle and an inside circle because I'm going to create a little wooden ring here. And I'm just cutting this out on my scroll saw. To cut the inside ring, you can see I've drilled my pilot hole here, and this just allows me to put my blade through and attach it back onto my saw so that I can cut the inside of my ring. After that, I did end up sanding these down, and then I applied my favorite finish from Minwax. It's just Early American. And next I'm going to take a bunch of leftover macrame cord that I had. This was from a previous macrame thing I got off of Amazon. I didn't really end up liking it or end up using it, but I didn't want to give it away or throw it away. I knew I could probably repurpose that, so I actually took all of them apart. And what I'm doing here is I'm applying 4 of these onto my ring, and you're going to end up doing 46 inches for a total of 25 strands. That's what I used, but that's because I wanted mine to be 3 tiers. Most certainly you could make this 2 tiers, just 1 tier, and also if you can find the smaller embroidery hoops, you can probably use those instead of doing a wood ring like I made. Here I'm actually doing a macrame knot. Now I'm really not sure what this one's called because I'm kind of new at macrame, but basically I'm taking my right strand underneath my left strand and then looping it through. And so you kind of see that you have loops on one side of the other. So I had 9 loops on each of my strands here. And that's just going to kind of first create the little shelf, so to speak, in between my rings. After I finish with that, I'm going to take my first embroidery hoop and I'm just going to attach this onto the top. So I'm just going to take my strands over and around and I'm just going to knot this at all 4 points. And basically the embroidery hoops are going to be your connecting points and is what's going to hold your whole structure together. I ended up doing this for each one of my tiers, so you're going to want to attach all 3 pieces so that you have 3 tiers. And on one of my tiers, I'm going to show you how I created the top and then I just kind of built down from there. So for the top, you're going to want to take 4 more strands and loop those in between your other 4. So just go underneath with your loop and kind of pull your tails through, and then you're going to gather those all up at the top. Here you can see that I've gathered mine, and actually I held it up to make sure that it was level and then kind of laid it down as carefully as I could. And I'm taking 1 more strand, which is a 46-inch strand, and I'm kind of looping that underneath. And what I do from there is I kind of fold that tail so that it's pointing downward. And then you're just gonna wrap your cord all the way around till you get to the end. Now, unfortunately, my camera card became full at this point, so I didn't get the full action shot of me wrapping this, but you just wrap it all the way around till the end, and then you can tuck that tail in. And I just basically cut the rest of my pieces off as close as I could. Now, I recommend if you have a place to hang this first to kind of build this, that's what I did. You can see here that I have my attachments here of the pieces, and then as I scroll up, here's how I attached it onto each one of my tiers. So I looped the bottom part around, and then up at the top I did the same thing. I put my strands around my next embroidery hoop and I knotted that at the top. And I just kind of left my tails on because I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with those here in a minute. I like to fray those. Now if you don't like that, you most certainly can cut that off. But I tried to make these even as I could. And then I would just take like a pin, or later you'll see me actually using one of those needles. It's like those plastic needles. I don't remember what they're used for. They might be used in embroidery. But basically I used those, and that helped me tremendously with getting the ends frayed. And here's how today's projects turned out. I just love my new cutting board. I've seen these in all types of Pinterest boards on Farmhouse decor and all that, and I know you can definitely go buy these at like a home goods store or something like that, but I picked this up for $2, and with just a little bit of effort I was able to make this look like a authentic vintage type farmhouse cutting board. And I just love the way my little galvanized tin turned out. I do see I have a few little touch-up spots to get, but this is housing one of my new plants. And also my new little plant hanger, I've put this in my office. I just love adding some of the house plants, and I think it really just kind of gives like that boho farmhouse style, just definitely something different, and I hope it gives you guys some ideas too of ways that you can incorporate your plants into your home, and I just really loved how this item turned out. I want to thank you guys again for coming to see my video today. I hope you liked these projects. If you did, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing, and we'll see you guys again for our next DIY.